Welcome to The Founder, where we talk about humble but epic beginnings of creators. And today we will be talking about the creator, the brains and the bronze of Jorgy Stripping the Dipping Motorsport podcast. So without further ado, let me introduce you all to my dear friend Jorgina Wijewardana. Hi Jorgy, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm fine. How are you?
I'm fine as well. So let's move on to the questions. Who is Jorgina Wijewardana without the title?
Ooh, okay. Who am I? I prefer to call myself a good, kind-hearted person, but since you personally know me, I tease you a lot, so you won't be agreeing with that part. So there's that.
Probably.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm a good human, man.
Interesting. So, Jorgy, what's the inspiration behind Jorgy Stripping the Dipping Motorsport podcast?
You were emphasizing the stripping the dipping
Yeah,
part.
stripping the dipping. What made you come up with that? Seriously.
Okay, so alright, let me tell you a story, right? So one of the most asked questions regarding the podcast is that, like, why is it stripping the dipping? And people are so curious about it. What the hell is this and all that? So there are two reasons. When we watch motor races, specifically I'm an F1 fan, hi. So there's that. So when you watch these races, you only see the driver and the car, and you don't actually see the whole work done behind. There's a humongous field behind it. Extreme amount of work. Not only the engineers, there's going to be media involved, there's going to be marketing involved, there's going to be so many fields that
Analysts, just recording.
I mean,
everything.
literally the lawyers, the doctors, everything
exactly.
is included. But no one is willing to know that, and we are just looking at in front of the TV. We just see it, and then, ooh, the drive is so cute, and the car is so fast, and that's all that we care about. All right.
True, yeah.
But so the first reason is stripping the dipping means like we are revealing everything out, stripping the whole part, and going deep, and revealing all the fields and the journey of all these people and their life stories. So when they are involved in the whole motorsport journey. So that's one story. The second reason is human curiosity. When you put a name like Stripping the Dipping, or if you call some sort of a program Naked something, you definitely get that curiosity to know what the hell this is and all that.
Sure.
Yeah, so specifically the men. Yeah, I get it. The way you said, yeah, for sure, yeah.
Because it makes sense, and it's true.
Yeah, I mean, so that's one way. So those are the two reasons behind the whole name. So the answer for the inspiration part, there was this point where we started talking about F1 on Twitter a lot. Even though I created Twitter a long time back, I was not active on that. I started becoming very active after 2021 Abu Dhabi. So there was a huge thing that was going on. I don't want to talk about the whole thing again, but basically Lewis Hamilton was rigged apart from the whole racing thing, and there was a huge issue. Me being a Lewis fan, some might call that I'm a biased person, but since the podcast is very diplomatic and balanced, I don't want to be putting my opinion there in that manner. But let's agree to disagreement. But yeah, so because of that, I started becoming very active on Twitter, and we were like talking about the whole thing, and there was a whole saga going on. And then I want to test it out with all the people, get all their opinions, and start some sort of a conversation, like whether it's right or whether it's wrong, or what sort of opinions does others have. Like, do they have any other opinions, like some sort of a thing. So I was testing out this whole theory, and it turned out to be a huge motorsport series. And then we were getting all these guests from Mario Andretti from Andretti Sports, to Raffaello Marciello, to Matthew Gallagher, to a lot of celebrity names sort of guests. So yeah, so that's basically what happened.
Yeah, so that's actually clearly interesting. So there's a whole massive story behind it and how it came to play. And let's just remain on the topic of the podcast. What are some of the biggest ups and downs that you faced while starting out the podcast, continuing it? Just tell me a little bit about that.
Okay, so since I live in Sri Lanka, okay, here's the story.
Yeah.
So podcast. When you have a podcast, you get paid when you reach a certain amount of audio size, when you reach a certain amount of time period and all that. But since I live in Sri Lanka, the region is not under the monetization area, so I don't get a single penny out of this podcast. But I'm doing this for the sake of my passion and for the sake of actually reaching out and opening up a lot of platforms, because there's a small car culture in Sri Lanka, but there are huge potential athletes who can be racers in Sri Lanka as well. But when I started the whole podcast and when I let my guests know that I'm from Sri Lanka and all that, the first question that they ask is, oh, is it a part of India? Or they'll be asking, where is it? Is it even a country? They have no idea. Even though we think that foreigners know about Sri Lanka and all that, half of the people have no idea that a country like this, an island like this exists. If I was living in London, then the area of reaching can be very huge. And I might have done a lot of work. I mean, if you take our guest list, that is so huge, like a humongous of list. That's like some ask. So basically, my podcast has two hosts. Both of them are British. So they are doing the podcast hosting in London, and I just connect them from Sri Lanka, from Colombo to wherever the guests are there. So it's like a triangle sort of connection that we have. So one of them is Denzel Clarkson. He's a sim racing driver, and the other one is F1 Black. So Black always says, Jorgy, we have this huge podcast and so successful when it comes to the guest and the content that we have. But why aren't we getting exposed? Like, why aren't we getting that shining light for ourselves? But I mean, living in Sri Lanka can be hard. So what can I do for that? So please help me, okay?
How do you get the shining light without the reach, right? So
Yeah.
that's what basically we're trying to do. We're trying to build a community and get the whole thing going. So, moving on. Have you ever been like a fan of motorsports? Like even when you were a kid, you were like, oh my god, that's so cool. And have you ever thought of yourself as
Becoming a racer person or something?
What?
Becoming a racer or something?
Oh yeah, sure, racer.
Yeah.
Just anything involved in motorsports.
Okay, so something about my family. My dad is a petrol head.
Oh.
My dad's whole family is a petrol head. So everyone is into motor stuff, like motor vehicles and all that. So my brother is a huge petrol head as well. So basically we used to watch F1 races and all that, and I went for one of the F1 races in Singapore and all that. But I was not so into it during those times. But once my brother started watching the whole thing, I started watching with him, and it became this family thing that we have, and more we were into it. Every single race weekend we used to watch it together. So that became a whole fan enthusiasm sort of a thing, and we got involved in the car culture, and he got involved in the car culture. Because of him, I got involved in the car culture, and I got to know all these races and manufacturing things, and he's a motorsport engineering student, and I get to see all that work. Trust me, it's not nice. I don't understand math. You know that I don't understand math.
Yeah, I know it. You're very bad at math. She's very bad at math.
I'm very bad. So the physics and all that, I'm not cut out for that, but I love the speed. I love the speed, and I love motorsport, and I love the cars and all that. So from there to this, I love what I'm doing with the podcast. I love it. Even though it's not earning anything, I don't care about it, because this is my passion. This is what I love doing.
That's great, because that's what you need, right? Passion. You're doing what you love. You're out there. You're grinding. That's just putting out the best effort. So that's awesome. Okay, so one of the questions that I really wanted to ask you is, Jorgy, why are you so bad at math? But then wait, this is about her, so I have to be nice. And
He got it wrong as well. Okay, you said 77 plus 33 was 111. It was 110. Okay,
No.
you had to use the calculator to get it.
now, okay, we're moving on from math. This is not about math. This is about you, and we're going to be talking about your podcast. So, speaking about it, what kind of guests do you bring in? By that I mean, what kind of qualities do you look into an individual? before getting them?
Okay, so when it comes to the podcast guest, if they are involved in motorsport, and it doesn't have to be just motorsport, if they are involved in the motor industry itself, and if they have some sort of a unique thing that they are doing for the relevantly for the field. Like for an example, I am going to have one of these guests who are into the motor field, which is like they restore old classic vehicles. So that's another part. It's like so amazing the work that they're doing and all that. So that's another part. So I go for all these areas that no one else would actually talk about, and bring those people to light, and give all that knowledge out as well. I mean, at one point we started having this person who was involved in the sponsoring for F1, and how that is working for the F1, and how a sponsorship is working, how those teams are getting involved and all that, because these are like knowledgeable things. And we have this segment called Tech Talk. So basically we talk about all the technical stuff that's happening inside and outside the car, from designing to carbon fiber to aerodynamics to downforce, the whole process. So if you're into the technical side, you have that segment there. And if you're into fan talks, we get fans who are, fans are literally the whole sport. Okay, without a fan you can't have anything. Even for my podcast, even for this whole thing, okay? Without a fan, you can't have anything. So we get all these fans, not just Lewis fans, we have Red Bull fans, we have McLaren fans, any person who would like to talk about their passion, our podcast is open for them. So they come along and they talk about it. So we have that segment. And then we have races, obviously, from rally races to drag racing to F1 to Formula E to every single race that we have. And then like I said, out of ordinary, the areas that no one is willing to talk about, like car restorations, and some people can be CEOs at some manufacturing companies, but they are not having that platform to talk about how they got into that and what their journeys and all that. But we're talking about that. And we talk about the mental health and what sort of pressure that they go through, and what sort of hard time that they go through, and how they balance the life and work. Because when it comes to motorsport, it's not easy, because every single race is not at one place, it's all over the world. So you will be constantly traveling with the team, and your home will be far away from you. So there are sacrifices that's going to be made. So you need to talk about it. Unless you do that, no one will be knowing it. And there's a sector that before you get the whole design done, there are clay models that's getting done.
Really?
And there's a particular person who's doing that as well.
Of the cars?
Of the cars. There are model makers.
Okay.
So I never knew that.
Neither did I. No.
Yeah, so I try to get that person recruited to talk about it. He's from Aston Martin, but they actually don't have enough time to get into the whole thing, so that got postponed. But however, I'll try to get the person. Hopefully, fingers crossed. So those are the things that I look into. So that's why the whole podcast is very different from other motorsport podcasts. So
that's awesome, Jorgy. Okay, so this whole talk session, it's about your podcast. Let's put a pin on there for a second, shall we? So I got to know, I know personally that you're a little bit of a gym freak. Actually, a little bit would be understating.
Underestimated.
Yeah, a big gym freak. So what does your daily routine look like? What do you do in the gym?
Okay, so I wake up early in the morning. I come to work.
Come to work, that's important.
I need to get my man. Money, man. Okay. So I get to work. After finishing the work, before 6 o'clock, definitely I hit the gym. Every single day for 5 days. So after work, I'm at the gym so that I can work out. So the whole point of me working out is so that I can actually eat whatever the things that I want to eat, and so that I can fit into the clothes size that I want to fit into, and feel good literally feel good for myself, about myself. I actually don't care about what other people are saying, what the external parties are thinking and all that. I'm not a person like that. I just do the stuff for myself, to make myself happy, and I love what I'm doing. And when I started the whole gym thing, it was actually to reduce the whole fat and all that. But once you get the 6 packs, you're like, oh honey, I want to give that. So you'll get that.
Okay, thanks. And that's good to know, because I've been trying to get in shape.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm working on that. Thank you, Jorgy, for this eventful talk session. I really hope that you get the exposure that you need for your podcast, and it deserves to be known. It should be out there. I wish you all the best, Jorgy. Thank you so much for joining with us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and thank you so much for giving me this platform to actually put my podcast out. So people, please go and check it out and give us the subscriptions. Thank you so much.
No worries, Jorgy. This is Sitika Manasinghe signing off for today, and we promise to bring you another episode on the founder culture.